Okay, it's 6:04 and I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the regular school board meeting. First thing on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible. Okay. Next on our agenda is approving the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda. A second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any objections? Hearing none, we can approve it by acclamation. Please, can't we?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. The consent agenda, there are a few modifications. So before I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please exclude from the motion policies number I. So it'd be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. On that first page. Those we were notified have upcoming changes being made by OSBA, so it doesn't make sense to adopt them today. So aside from those, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve tonight's consent agenda with the changes that you noted.
Okay, thank you.
1 second.
Perfect. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, we will approve the consent agenda by acclamation. Okay. Is Elijah here today? No. No. Okay, so we will not have a report today from Marshfield. Okay, destinations rep. Is Cody Jones here? Would you like to? Welcome. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Did you have anything you wanted to say, or did you just want us to ask you some questions?
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions?
No, I'm just happy you're here. I think this is a great idea.
What made you interested in taking this position?
We never had a representative at destinations. I just saw it. So
Perfect. And what kinds of things are you going to be bringing us on a regular basis?
information of what's going on and stuff like that.
Okay, if there's ever anything we can participate in, always make sure we know about those things too, okay?
Especially if there's kids.
Does anybody else?
Yeah, do you have any like little highlights you could give us now? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if
Yeah.
there's any
At
highlights.
this time.
Talk about it, like before break. And you have something written already. Nothing. Before break, what did we do before break with him? Oh yeah, it was a year ago. But with
Watershed, what you guys go do?
We helped restore the Hughes History Museum by getting out all the old brush and planting and new plants and all that.
Oh, that's great.
How many kids participated?
I want to say 8 to 9.
oh, that's wonderful.
Do you have opportunities to do things like that often?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, we look forward to welcoming you to our board. Basically, you'll be the liaison from Destinations. We meet on the second Monday of every month. Unless of course it's a holiday and then we generally change it. But you'll know about that ahead of time. And you'll be at the beginning of the meeting along with Elijah. and you'll make your report.
Okay.
Okay, we look forward to seeing you at our February meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Mark.
for coming, being the board. You'll get a nameplate down there.
Yep,
I'll get a nameplate and I'll get the meetings on his calendar. There you go.
okay. CBEA business. Miss Cream.
Hello, good evening to you all. Happy New Year. Waiting for my slideshow. I chose not to start with focusing on appreciation of you all because I thought I would lose track of anything else I wanted to talk about. So bear with me, please. In fact. All right. Okay, next slide, please. So, Spotlight of the Month is new to us teacher, Mr. Thomas Hill. He is the new music teacher at Sunset Millicoma. And first, I just want to read what was written when he was nominated to be our Spotlight of the Month, because I put that out to members in a request for spotlights. Thomas Hill has been working really hard to help our kids get excited about music again. He has spent a lot of his own time, money, and personal equipment for our kids. He has been able to get extra funding through grants and donors choose to get ORF instruments, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. He was recently awarded a chance to go to an ORF conference. He has also done a great job managing behaviors. So he was nominated by Holly Ovino, and she was pretty brief, and I knew that I couldn't come here talking about ORF without more information. So I went to Thomas myself and got that information. Because I have watched him teach, and he's amazing. Anybody that steps into Sunset Millicoma, if they happen to be there on the day that he's teaching, it's really a treat to watch it because his management is incredible. And I think it's all part of this ORF pedagogy that he uses, that he's been trained under. I'm just going to read some of his description of what that is. I teach as much as possible. This is Mr. Hill speaking, using the ORF approach pedagogy. This idea was created by a German composer named Karl Orff. He also designed and created the Orff xylophone. Are you familiar with that at all, Adrian? As a musical person?
Not the xylophone.
Oh, okay. So an Orff xylophone, the instruments were based on a wooden African instrument and a bronze Indonesian instrument. A distinctive feature of Orff instruments is if the bars are removable. So he goes on later to talk about you can remove some of it when you're teaching them so that you're only teaching one key at a time or something like that. But that's about as much as I can say about that. The ORF approach is a way of teaching music to kids that's all about getting them actively involved. It uses things like singing, moving, playing instruments, especially percussion, and even acting to help them learn and explore musical concepts in a fun, natural way that taps into a child's natural state of play. Another way to think about it is gamified music instruction, and that's exactly what I've seen. He has dots all over the floor, and they go into different patterns, and they're very rhythmic as they move, and it's very impressive. And all kids are fully engaged. He goes on to say, over the last 3 years, he has been able to attend and become certified in ORF levels 1, 2, and 3. So one conference that he just went to was referred to here. So he was able to raise some money to get there. I think it was November is what I think. He's done various grants. He's got various grants to get some whiteboards, markers, instruments. He just recently found a retired teacher in Washington that had 12 used ORF xylophones, and he purchased those. So he's constantly bringing in cool things. He has some drums. I don't know. He's a member of the Coquille Indian tribe, and so as a result, he applied for the BBIA, Black, Brown, Asian, and Indigenous Scholarship through American Org Association, to attend the conference. So, he's been working with a lot of community partners. He did, at Millicoma's, winter craft night, family night, I guess it was. He did, a performance, what did he call it? Sorry, the Ice Castle, it was a musical story that he presented to families on the, every half hour. So really impressive, stuff I've never seen before. So, well-deserved, Mr. Thomas Hill. We're lucky to have him. Please pop in and see him if you get an opportunity. Next slide, please. This is where I say, how appreciative we are of you. It always surprises me to know, how many duties you have, how many responsibilities, hard decisions you have to make, and it's a volunteer position. CBEA has brought you a little gift of a bookmark and a.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, of course. So, thank you for all you do. Somebody just said the other day in a staff meeting, they said, I never see the school board members. And I said, well, they have full-time jobs. This is a volunteer position. If you want to see them, go to a school board meeting. That's where you'll find them. So, much appreciated hard work that you do, and feel very supported by you. And I've said this for years now, the same message every year. I'm just so appreciative that we have such a good working relationship with our board and our admin. And I know it could be so much different and worse. And so very grateful. I think that's all I have. Oh, a little bit about just committee work that we've been doing. We started working with the district. We have a calendar committee that was called by the district, and working on finalizing that for next month. Our negotiations committee just started meeting last week, and we'll meet weekly until we get together for bargaining, and then we'll continue to meet weekly. So we should be getting set for mid-February to get started meeting across the table. And then we have an organizing team that provides dinner for us while we have our work sessions. So we're very grateful for them, and they keep us busy, our bargaining meetings. So I think that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Great work. And thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you, Becky. And thank you to all the teachers throughout the district. We appreciate them also. Okay, next up, Bree. Talking about OSBA business.
I like going after back.
Cursive from chapter 33, as well as some notes that were assisted by our kids in our after school program. That is our American Indian Alaska Native and Hispanic students from kindergarten to 12th grade. Is one of you guys on there? Oh, fine. Okay. I was like, wait a minute, we counted online? Yeah. So today for my staff spotlight, I had actually wanted to switch it up a little bit and do like highlights in a school instead. And when I showed up today, the different staff that I approached and talked to were like, no, don't do that. You need to talk about Jen Shaw. Like, will you please spotlight Jen Shaw? And so Jen Shaw is our spotlight for this evening. And I'm going to kind of paraphrase because I can't pronounce a word in here. It really throws me off. And so Jen is just amazing. She's always going above and beyond for her students. She works with our behavior students at Madison, and because of her actions and her willingness to just get in there and do a job and to not just go through the motions, but really like connect with these kids and want them to be the best that they can. She has turned around a lot of different behaviors and has helped Madison like kind of create a calm with these students. And so I just really wanted to recognize her, but mostly her fellow staff really wanted to recognize her. It wasn't just classified, it was certified too, that had said that they really wanted to bring attention to her today. And so my recommendation is, if you guys ever find yourselves at Madison, she works with some of the hardest students and she has really made big changes in their lives and made sure that they're getting the best, which is what they deserve. So that is my staff spotlight for today. And then just on general, I'm just a one pager, so yeah. It's a one pager for me today. Just some general updates from OSEA. Like Becky, we have some representatives on the calendar committee, and then starting mid-February on the 12th is when we start our official meetings to go over ground rules and stuff for negotiations. And so we'll be getting that ball rolling right along with CBEA this year. So thank you for being our board. And again, like Becky said, I think our district is just a really great district and place to be. And it always starts from the top and trickles down. And so knowing that we have support people who support us in our place is always just reassuring to know that we are not just here for the kids, but everybody here is for the kids and what's best for the kids. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Something to eat and something for reading. And I love that staff highlight, and you started that and then you guys brought him along. I met Mr. Hill at the library report. I even knew he was a teacher and he was really just so excited about it and coming on.
You see it in the classroom, so
Yeah.
come by and I'll bring you down there.
I'm excited about that. Thank you, both of you.
Okay, next on our agenda is Dr. Ainsworth.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. As David's pulling up the slide deck, I'm gonna end with our school board and appreciations, but just would echo a lot of things that Bree and Becky said about our board. I really think we're super fortunate. This board is committed to this community and the district and our students. So typical fashion for me, we'll start off with just as a reminder, our mission statement, and then our superintendent goals that you guys have established for me. I won't go into a lot of depth on these, but just kind of keep them front and center, raise the academic expectations, report progress on goals, and create data systems, investigate and establish the need for additional programs in our district, and then continue to look at, we have some really good alternative education programs, but how do we expand? What are we missing in that alt ed playbook or portfolio? And I would just say that we're really doing all these things concurrent. These things are worked on daily, if not daily, weekly. All right, David, so. Second part. Give me the subject line. All right, quick review of December sprint goals. We talked about this in December. It was the first time that we had engaged in the sprint goal process. We have the results from December. Just as a quick reminder, the elementary looked at our SAVIS, our Success Maker math minutes and elementary attendance, and then our secondary schools looked at the F rate and attendance. And so the data on the next couple slides, and I won't go into a lot of depth on this. I'll put this in the board post. This is our sprint goal worksheet. So our principals, assistant principals filled this out on Friday. Anything that is in green is an area that a school, a grade level met the benchmark. So for us, we've established 90% as that daily attendance goal. Our F rate, we're really trying to get it under 10%, and our math minutes through Success Maker, the target is 60 minutes a week. And so we haven't hit all of these, and that's fine, right? Really the goal is progress and getting better daily and weekly, but we do have some highlights that I'd like to point out as we move through this. This is secondary. Those green areas are on the right, that's the F rate, and on the far left is attendance. If you look at this slide, this is our failure rate at Marshfield Middle and Marshfield High. A couple of things I would like to pull out of this, or for you to notice, that black line is the 10% rate. Really proud of the staff at Marshfield Junior High. Consistently, their F rate is below that threshold of 10%. Another takeaway from this slide, you're looking at Marshfield's F rate and you're probably extrapolating, well, that seems high. And it is high, and we're working on it. But in all categories, all grades, 9 through 12, their F rate since the sprint goal process has gotten lower and lower and lower. So they're making some great strides and trying to figure out interventions and proficiency-based grading and working with kids. The next one is our attendance at Marshfield High and Marshfield Junior High. We don't see as much growth in attendance at the secondary level as we do at the elementary. That's an area that lots of growth in trying to figure out how do we get our high school kids to school. That's been a challenge. And we look at that really at the middle school level, it's kind of status quo, right? It's flat. And at the high school level, we actually lost. We went backwards in attendance. Some of that is right before break. Some kids travel, some kids are gone. That's an area of growth for us. The next slide is destinations. What I would like to pull out of that slide, again, I'll put this in the board post, is Kayla and her team. If you look at the 12th grade, they went from 69% to 84% with their seniors. So significant improvement. And then there was improvement with their 11th graders. She's trying to figure out that 10th grade class. They went backwards. So lots of time and energy to get those kids to school. This is, as we turn colors here, these are our elementary schools. So this is attendance. You can see that there's some areas, again, the black bar is the 90% threshold. There's some areas that we increased. Really excited at Madison with the second graders. They went from 79 to 80% with those kids. And then there was an increase at Eastside with their second graders. It was marginal, but was still an increase, and we have to celebrate all wins. And then we have attendance for Millicoma and Sunset. Millicoma's attendance, there was some incremental progress, but it was pretty static. Millicoma, by and large, has pretty good attendance for their kids. They routinely hit that 90%. One of the areas that I'm the most excited about is if you look at Sunset in every grade level. If you look at the light blue to the dark blue, the light blue is larger than the dark blue in all grade levels. And if you look at that 6th grade class, it went from 65% to 84%. So it's just tremendous progress in terms of attendance achievement at Sunset. And then this is our success maker minutes. All of our elementary schools, you might ask yourself, why is it little pirates on there? They don't use the adaptive software for the little pirates. But if you look at the dark versus the light, almost every area we have increased access to mathematics and the adaptive software at the elementary level. I know I've talked about this, but this is what's really, really important about adaptive software and mathematics is it allows our teachers, the hardest thing I can tell you from experience as a teacher, former teacher for 12 years, the hardest thing to do is to differentiate and personalize for 30 kids. It's easy to stay scope and sequence. This is what I'm supposed to teach this week. What's hard is when Marina's ahead and Justin's behind, how do I differentiate? So the adaptive software does that for mathematics. Millicoma has really been a leader for us in this area. They've been a leader in the district. Sunset's minutes went up. Madison's minutes went up. Lots of growth. And I think that's going to help our kids because it's really going to place the kids where they need to be, whether they're accelerated or they're behind. So if they're behind, the software spirals back to help those kids to get them caught up. If they're ahead, it moves them forward, push them forward right to their comfort zone. Sprint glows, I already mentioned a couple of these, just things that we're really excited about. Eastside and Madison are really starting to operationalize. Access to Success Maker Mathematics, Marshall Junior High, again, that F rate is under 10%. They're doing great job with their interventions and proficiency-based grading. Marshall High School, their F rate across all 4 grade levels is headed in the right direction. Destinations and their 12th graders, Sunset and attendance, and then middle column with math. So there's highlights and glows in every area. You know, we certainly aren't there, right? We're not the mountaintop. We're not planting the flag. But in education, it's complex, it's dynamic. There's a lot of variables that we can't always control. You have to celebrate when they're headed in the right direction. So just really excited and proud of our admin teams and our staffs, because it's a collective effort to pull this off. I'm going to skip through the secondary questions and elementary questions, things that I asked myself. I'll leave that for you guys. And then the next, so January, we move into our sprint goals, where our admin team, we had an admin meeting right when we got back, and we asked them, what do you guys want to do? You want to change up the goals, or do you want to stay? And it was pretty unanimous. They wanted to stay with the goals. They had the reps. People are getting confidence. The only thing we added is at the middle school level, the mathematics software is also for middle school. So we're going to start to emphasize that and measure their access. So as we transition away from data, just keeping everybody in the loop and on the same page. This is a busy time of year. It feels like it's always busy, but at the end of a semester, there's lots of things to accomplish and do. So the end of semester 1 is busy. The seed survey, I'm working with Chad, and that's the state survey for students. So we're going to deploy that to get feedback from our kids. I'll contrast that real quick with, I just gave you a lot of quantitative data, hard numbers. Got to balance that with qualitative data, right? And do kids feel safe? And do they have access to things? And how do they feel about their schools and their teachers and the programs? So we need to get that qualitative data to inform you guys as a board, me as a superintendent. So we're gonna deploy that, I think, late February or early March is what Chad and I were thinking. We continue to work on the evacuation EOPs. That's been a weekly progress. I started internal with lots of feedback. Now we've gone external, and we have a meeting this month with the Coos County Emergency Department. Bannon, Coquille, North Bend, Coos Bay, Reedsport, we're all getting together and talk about that event and things that we've learned. The equity committee, we were going to start earlier, but because of the evacuation, we really needed to prioritize that. But we're starting to lay the groundwork for that process. Mid-year assessments. So we have a beginning, a mid, and end. All of our elementary schools will be doing a dipstick on math and reading. Our data dashboard rollout, I'll talk about that in more detail at the next board meeting. Principal evaluation process, and then just the continued conversation about the district office. And we do have a plan for that. It's in draft format. I'm kind of running it through my team before I publish it. But we plan on talking about that. I'd like to have a firm decision by the next board meeting. Calendar. I hit on a couple of these things. January 7th was the first day back. Becky mentioned the calendar committee. I met today with the Black Student Union Group at Marshfield. Great meeting. Awesome meeting with those kids. I told them, okay, what do you love about Marshfield? What do we got to work on? They were, they're praised. They love their teachers and the school. They did tell me they've had some issues with some of the bathrooms. So there's some things in the bathrooms we got to fix. Our board meeting tonight, I met tomorrow with the Latinx Club. Looking forward to that meeting. Obviously, Dr. Kinney Day on Monday, important. I know our schools are starting to recognize and celebrate. I was at Sunset this morning for instructional tours in 3 classes. They were looking at civil rights leaders. So they were studying Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Thurgood Marshall, and not to get too deep in history, but our world, he impacted our world pretty significantly, right? Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, desegregated schools. And so it's important that we recognize him, we talk about him. It's not just a day off of school. And then we have, I mentioned this, tsunami evacuation meeting. The county is getting together, a lot of the stakeholders, policy committee, several of you were on that. Continuing discussions. the semester ends January 31st. And then one of the themes this month, I didn't put the dates, but lots of instructional tours. I will be in almost every school this month visiting classrooms. Had a great time at Sunset. We went to 4 or 5 classrooms, and the teachers were really doing a great job. And then just good things. If you haven't had a chance to, the Haunting of William Shakespeare, these kids did a great job. You guys have heard me say this, if there's a silver bullet in education, it's get kids involved. It really is. I mean, if we can get kids involved, they graduate, right? And whether that's drama, whether that's concert, football, band, it doesn't matter. If we can get kids involved, they typically, their attendance improves, they graduate, and they learn there's lots of career readiness skills that come out of those programs. And just I want to mention Mr. Cruz, fabulous job. You guys know he's come back and forth and saved us a couple times. I think he's got 30 plus years of education. Just an outstanding person and committed to these kids in the community. And then this team, you guys really, this is you guys sacrifice a lot of time from your families and your careers to be committed to this process. And I am honored to work with this board and to be directed by this board. The thing that I have quickly realized is you guys don't always agree, but you do it with a lot of class and decorum. I think there's really good dialogue, and you guys are you're true servant leaders. And just thank you for being committed to the community and our staff, and more importantly, our students. I know Arnie's not here. We'll have to make sure we give him a hard time when he gets back. And then the last thing is, I know you've seen this. I keep just recycling it everywhere I go. I'm so proud. The Oregon Department of Education came down to Eastside. They are considered leaders right now in the state for the science of reading. And so they did a tour. I don't know, it was early in the year, end of October, and highlighted that staff and the admin team and the staff. They're just doing amazing things with the science of reading, and people are starting to notice. So let's take a minute and watch this.
With the Oregon Early Literacy Framework, I think what it does and what it will do to help teachers within the Coos Bay School District is really help us focus on the skills that kids need to read and building upon those skills.
Our literacy coach was like, have you ever heard about this thing called the science of reading? And so we started doing letters training. It's just been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. It's been such a change in our classrooms.
And so in the classroom, we see that with them segmenting. So meaning like if you have the word cat, they would go k, at, and really hearing those sounds and having them blend it to make the word cat.
Today we learned every word has a vowel. We were looking into the mirror and we were saying A, E, I, O, and U.
So what is been nice about the framework is I'm seeing my colleagues just feeling really empowered.
I just love to see our students' excitement, their successful moments.
And so we're starting to see our data change. And that's the exciting part, because now we're like, okay,
Our kids can do it.
we can do it. We can do it, and it's working.
Yeah.
So as I turn it back over to our board chair, the thing that I love about that video, I love to see the kids, but the energy and excitement from the staff members.
From the teacher.
From the teachers, they're just super excited. There's lots of energy and momentum there. And it's a big shift, right? I mean, we've talked about this, and the science of reading, really, phonics is important, phonemic awareness is important, comprehension, vocabulary, all those things. Like, there is a science to teaching reading, and I think in a couple of years, it's not just going to be the East Side; it's going to be the entire district that will be recognized. So, with that said, any questions?
Kim? No. Adrian? Diane? Kevin?
I was curious, some of the new sprint goals, especially the efforts around more math related software to help this. We had a little bit of a debate about how you make, we have certain amounts of time available, how, we make choices about how we use that time. And I think a lot of the teachers and educators were trying to figure out how to meet some of these goals around the time involved in that.
Yeah.
And then there was a little bit of a discussion about, well, does that time taken there, obviously the time used to do that time in other spaces.
Yeah.
And I think there was some discussion about, small groups and things like that we've done historically. And I guess I just don't know, I don't know the answer to it, just wondering, do we feel like this is a better use of time overall? And are there some compromises that we're making as a result to that we also need to be aware of?
Yeah.
Like I said, I just know that when you're looking at, I think, trying to get 60 minutes of instruction through this, I think it was the standard for many grade levels. That 60 minutes is coming from stuff that we were doing other things with.
Yeah.
So, if it's not where we really feel like, hey, this is the best bang for our buck, it's really going to help encompass most of the kids, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But some of the other things that maybe we used to be doing that we're not doing now also have a potential cost to them as well. So just wondered if you have any thoughts about that and part of the discussions or,
Yeah.
to me, part of it is this mode of teaching is a little bit brave new world for somebody that's traditional like me, it's not, but I also know that that's where a lot of things are going, where we're expecting technology to help guide us in ways that were more done by people before. So.
Yeah, it's a great question, statement. I have lots of opinions about what you just said. I think anytime you've identified a weakness, right? And math instruction and math results is not one of our strengths. So we do have to take from other areas. Nobody's implying that we want to take it all from PE or art or the electives. I'm not 100% sure that we were devoting enough time to math instruction previous, right? So that's some of the shift. And there is some best practices on how much time should be devoted daily to reading and math. And then you have your electives that, they're a part of that. I think we had a deficit in terms of math instruction. There's a sweet spot. We want 60 minutes a week. We don't want 120 minutes a week, right? So we want to use technology very intentional, strategic, and purposeful. Like I am not of the belief that I want elementary kids on a computer all day, right? But it does serve a purpose. And where the economy is going and society is going, we've got to give them reps with technology because they're going to all of our students are going to go to a brick and mortar university. They're going to go to a CT school. In their professional life, they're going to have this is a modality they're going to have to learn to get comfortable. So yes, we did have to take a bit away from other areas to make sure we were prioritizing on that. I think once we stabilize academically, then we can start to release back to some of those things. And I would say it's, we're in terms of academic achievement, we're headed in the right direction. Things are going really well, but we're not there. And it's not one person's fault, right? It's just us. Collectively, it's really kind of a systems issue. If it was one person, two people, it'd be easy. So it's just prioritizing and being really clear about where we're going. But you're right, we have to make decisions. And so we're trying to get really good at math.
I appreciate that. And the proof's in the pudding. I mean, we can really make some improvements in our math score, which, I think is not good in our school. It's not good in Oregon. It's not good in the US. I mean, the math score across it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad and worse. I mean, you look, so, I mean, I'm certainly comfortable saying, let's see if this makes a difference. And we can see, obviously, at some point, we'll have some markers about where we're going. Success. But I do think sometimes too, I would just think caution that sometimes when you're shooting for a certain standard, like say 60 minutes, there are different methods to get there. And it shouldn't just be about reaching the 60. It's all about how you're doing it. Right. So if I, as one individual, spend 500 minutes there, I'm skewing the data for everybody.
Yeah.
But you're not really addressing the overall deal, which is to have everybody have this interactive experience to help everybody move up the chain a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you started to segue into math and statistics there. Yeah, those outliers can skew the data.
I did,
I have one thing I would like to, and I mentioned it when we were in the other room earlier. The events of the past week in Southern California have opened a lot of people's eyes as to what could possibly happen when your entire town disappears at once. It's not a high urgency, but I would like the safety committee or whatever to start looking at what would happen if all of a sudden we lost a school or two schools all of a sudden. What would we do? Because, I mean, I think we should have some plans. It's not that plans would do any good in Pacific Palisades right now, but, you know, I think over the long run, it might behoove us to at least know what we might do.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, and that was one of the goals of the beginning of the year was to revise and look at the emergency operation plan. They do exist. They're in place. It's one thing for them to be in place and people to know what to do, right? They were built a long time ago. But the tsunami evacuation accelerated that. And then obviously I had the same thoughts about Southern California, right? You know, we lost schools where would kids go?
Yeah. And how would we educate them? Not, I mean, even if we could find a place for them all to sit, what would, all the books would be gone, all the materials would be gone, everything would be gone. What do you do?
Yeah. And I should have put that in the timeline now that I'm thinking about it. So we were going to do community events that were academic oriented. Instead, we partnered with the city of Coos Bay, and we're going to go out and we're going to meet. We're going to be at east side of Millicoma. We're going to do a community event to talk about the tsunami and evacuation with the community, Sunset and Madison, and then two Marshfields. And so we're going to partner on that process and just give people information and inform them.
Perfect. And the first one of those is going to be at Marshfield High School and Heritage Hall on the 30th.
This Thursday?
Not this Thursday, but it is a Thursday.
Okay.
And we'll announce that out. We have a meeting planned with the city
Okay.
who will be working with us on those meetings. So once we iron out the final details with them, then we'll announce out to the community.
Perfect.
What time did you say that was?
6 p.m.
Okay, moving right along. Art.
How this kind of bring our newsletters. This year we decided to put out newsletters for summer, winter, and spring.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Whatever our needs. Hi, everyone. My name is Melinda Torres. I oversee the ARC project. I see some new faces and some new people in the audience. So the ARC project, we're a drop-in center where we serve houseless children and youth within Coos County. Drop-in center where we have basic needs services ranging from laundry, showers, hygiene, tents, tarps, clothing, everything in between. I just wanted to highlight some things that we've been doing since summertime. We did our lunches, our annual lunches that we usually do. So we ask staff from Coos Bay and North Bend, because we have a lot that interchange a lot of the time. And we chose our 50 most at-risk children that we wanted to keep in contact with because of attendance issues, and then also keeping track of our kids, making sure that our families feel supported over the summertime. Since we have limited hours, we're only open 2 days a week instead of 4 days a week. And then helping with enrolling in school, making sure that they're all set, ready to go. If anything changes, we know what's going on. And it's been really helpful retaining families and their school of origins, because there's always questions about, well, I moved over to North Bend, but I really want to come to Coos Bay still. What do I do, or something like that? How do I do transportation if I still want them to go to Coos Bay? And then we're like, no, we have special busing. It's okay. Don't worry about it. So then also during the summertime, we had the ambitious charity program. They came in and did their volunteer hours, and it was so helpful because we do our annual backpack event where we give out backpacks to all the schools within the county. This year we did 350 backpacks. So that means that the kids assembled the backpacks, put school supplies in them, and then organized where the bundle of backpacks were going to go. And then for the holiday season that we had this year, I said I was going to stick with 100 students. That did not happen. We had 142 kiddos from all over the county.
And that averaged around 500 backpacks I'm not 500, 500 presents that the kids wrapped. And it was so great having the charity program and the Latinx club come in and wrap all the presents. Is a learning experience for everyone. A lot of students have never wrapped presents before. So it was real great to watch Sophie and Christiana kind of stress out because they're perfectionists. And I'm like, I don't care. Wrap a hat. You don't need a box. It's fine. And then also with our holiday gifts that we do, we also do holiday meals for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. So the charity program kids assembled all of this as well. So in each of our bags, it's pretty much, it's a whole meal ranging from dessert to side dishes to a main course. And then we even had enough funds this year for apple cider. So that was really cool to have this year. And we had a lot more families and stuff from outside community than years before. So I think next year we're going to try out we have a holiday tree in usually each of the schools. And then for the community ones, for kids that are not Coos Bay school kids, we have them just at the Arc Project in our tree. It's like pretending that you guys know what a tree looks like. But I think next year we're going to try to do holiday trees in North Bend School District and in the Bandon School District. Those are I think we had, I don't know, probably 15 kids from Bandon. So it was quite a large number for Bandon. So I think we already came up with partnerships for how that's going to look and everything. So that was really great. Then also, so far this school year, we've had 300 contacts. So what I mean by that is we have families and kids, whenever they need services, they click their little we have a little iPad where they click what services that they need and all of that stuff. So far we've had this school year, 300 contacts from clients. Average, I think, on taxis, whenever a kid had special busing set up or needing to go on medical appointments, doing after school programs or needing rides home from practice, I think our average bill that we're having each month is around $500 to $600. Most we've had this year, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, $1,500 with our largest one, which I couldn't believe, but that's good. We're getting a lot more kids the transportation that they need to different events and getting all the special busing set up. And then so far, this was a high year for us too with special busing. What I mean by that is their school of origin is here and we're bringing them in from somewhere else. So, so far total, some of the kids, this is their 4th special busing reroute that we've had to do. But so far total the school year, it's been around 50 that we've had to do, which is quite a bit. Right now we have around 255 students, K through 12th grade, that qualify as being homeless this school year. And then also something that we're really proud of is we work really closely with Alternative Youth Activities with their transitional housing program. So their transitional houses, their host home programs, trying to get them into permanent housing, anything like that. We've averaged, so far this school year, 26 families that we've helped get into some type of stable transitional housing.
Nice.
So that's been really great for us. I think that is all I got right now for highlights. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Great work.
Yeah, thank you again for letting us do this as well, because I feel it's just amazing. We're able to do this work and that the school district gives us the autonomy to try new things and to really see what best fits for our schools and our students as well. And we've even had a lot more other schools reach out to us and how do we do this and what programs work and what hasn't worked in the past and how do we track all of this?
Do you track like the kids' performance in school? Or, so that how receiving services actually raises?
If we look at graduation rates, we have.
Yep.
I have not looked at it for last year, but it has shown a difference. It's easier when they're here longer that we can track that, but we have seen increase with that. I haven't done attendance. That I'm not the, I need to do that. The attendance correlate. I know some of our kids, one family comes in they've moved every 2 weeks until we can find them housing. You know, they have their own obstacles, but their kids have the best attendance I've seen. And they have the best positive attitudes, and then keeping that open line of communication. And they're just, they're thriving right now in our school. They love our schools. Even some of our other kids, they live in North Bend now, but they still want to keep on going to Sunset. It's their favorite school. And they're like, we don't want to go yet. And I'm like, well, we'll see about next year, but like, I'm really happy that you want to stay here. So, I see a lot of those kind of things, but you're right. I need to start doing I think the attendance piece would bring it to the next level for sure.
Maybe could get some grants to.
Yeah, I got one. I think Rotary is going to give us a $10,000 one for transportation. That's the one. That's going to be a good one. But yeah, it really does help with those kind of things.
Any questions? Anybody? Okay, thank you very much, Melinda.
Good to see you.
Okay, Marina,
Hello.
we're happy to see you here in person.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. It was weird to not be here last time. I hear you guys had a request for me after I left the Zoom call, and I'm so excited. So as David is pulling that up, just to touch on, we did get a completed successful audit by the December 31st deadline. We cut it very close as to having a draft on Christmas Eve, but it was submitted with no errors or findings. So great news. I don't know when the new auditors anticipate coming and presenting that to you. If they don't plan on doing it or are able to fit it in the February, they just might get a draft audit presentation from me instead. That could be a good time. I haven't done one of those in like 7 years. But that is great news, and we are thankful that it's done. That is the biggest task of our first half of the year for this, and now we move on to budget. So financials, I was able to get 98% of things entered happened before December 31st. It's always a tight turnaround, being the second Monday to get all the deposits, all of the journal entries done. So it's always a fairly rough draft, but I was able to get every deposit in except for the My School Bucks that happened at the end of the month. I got that today, and I was not about to redo all of this for tonight. We're looking great in the general fund. We did end last year with a $445,000 beginning fund balance that is higher than what we budgeted. So great news. Our state school fund is looking right on track. The only thing that is not expected to be above our budgeted amounts are local sources. Those are things like miscellaneous payments that come in. It could be something as small as a badge replacement for a staff member. We just have a rough budget, and maybe our staff aren't losing quite as many ID badges. I'm not sure. I haven't gone into the weeds, but we're looking right about on track. Expenditures are looking great. We are not anticipating being over any allocation. You will see that I have not anticipated putting in the full transfer of 1.9 million. I haven't done that yet. I typically do that at the end of the year so I can get pretty close to what we budgeted for beginning fund balance. And so if something like the capital projects fund has a significantly high ending fund balance, maybe we don't do a $1 million transfer to that fund. Maybe we keep it in the general fund for a year. We look at that closer to the end of the year when we know what our general fund is looking at. On to special revenues. Special revenues is looking good in terms of we only spend what we get for grants, but because of ODE's new regulations, we're going to have to do a supplemental budget in the March board meeting because we have to now spend all of our Measure 98, SIA, and I want to say ESSA, like significant amounts of money that we typically carry over and spend July through September, we now have to have spent by June 30th. And so we will have to do a supplemental budget just to allow us to spend all of that and not go above budgeted allocations. So that's where the negatives are coming in under the unfavorable variance under requirements. It's because we're spending at a rate where we will spend all of these down by June 30th. but we need to increase our allocation to allow us to do that and not get flagged on our audit. Beginning fund balance was about $700,000 higher. That is purely based on the Child Nutrition Service Fund. However, grant deposits come in. Sometimes they come in prior to June 30th and sometimes they don't. This year I was pretty on top of it and I did a lot closer transactions. And then we had less that went through to the next fiscal year. Debt service, next page looks great. We did our first debt service payment in December. I actually was driving to unplugging at the time the tsunami alerts went off. And they did not want to take my wire transfer for our debt service payment, but they let me come back the next day when they reopened. So that went through, we're all good, everything's looking great with property taxes. And then capital projects. You will see significant variances from our budgets. There are many reasons that this is, but you will see an increased beginning fund balance of $3.6 million above our budget. That is because last year, the way that we were coding our Millicoma HVAC expenditures, we anticipated having a much lower capital projects fund than we did because we were able to move $2.2 million from capital projects in 23-24 into our ESSER grant and spend all of that down. So it freed up about $2.2 million. Great news. And then the rest of it is just the timing of expenses for our bond fund. If you're doing that Millicoma HVAC project with ESSER and bond funds, we just weren't getting as many invoices prior to June 30th as we had anticipated. So a lot of that carried past July 1. So we will have allocations in our supplemental budget to allow us to spend all of that bond fund and get the Millicoma HVAC project done. And then potentially some other capital projects that are being discussed, like a district office move, are things that if that's decided on, we could increase our allocations to allow us to fund that. Ideally, we do significant projects like the district office moves. I know this the Sunset Roof has been a top priority in the last few years. Those were identified as tier 1 projects in the long range facilities plan. So Dr. Ainsworth and I are sitting down and really mapping out how we want to recommend spending that $3.6 million that we were anticipating, because that's above and beyond the tier 1 projects that we were already planning on doing this year, which is the ADA bathrooms at the high school, which was also a tier 1 long range plan. So hopefully, once a decision is made on some projects, we can present to you a supplemental budget in March to allow us to do those before June 30th. So perfect. For once, good news on terms of capital project fund.
Yeah.
I can't just transfer this money back to the general fund because it was designated
For
for capital projects. And so we do need to be creative of how we use this. And the board has identified some goals that we can use this for. Expanding all debt, district office moves. There's lots of options.
Can we start a fund that we put money into each year, a reserve fund? And could we move some of the capital money into a reserve fund if it's for building?
Theoretically, and that is theoretically what this is. We don't have to spend all of this in a fiscal year. It can just carry on. We've had a significant balance in these capital projects funds because the bond funds were deposited into here. So we are not required to spend it, but this overarching fund does contain some reserve funds. It does contain our turf reserve funds, does contain our new athletics reserve fund for athletic projects that we're hoping to do, such as like new bleachers. There are reserve funds, and if there are certain projects that the board wants to create reserve funds for, we can do.
We can do that. Okay.
Otherwise, it just sits in here and we prioritize big one, tier 1 projects. Yeah. We're looking good. For December, we're getting a good picture of where we're at, and it seems healthy with the understanding that there are a lot of unknowns in next year's budget. There's a lot of upcoming crystal ball work that we're going to have in the budget process. Um, so it looks confident right now with the knowledge that anything could happen when I get the first state school fund estimate in the beginning of March. And I'll keep you guys apprised of how that comes. I think I'll get the estimate the day before, but I'll let you know. On.
We're just to ask, and I know we'll talk about enrollments, but our enrollment numbers have been down
Mhm.
by some percentage. And I assume that at some point will continue to be reflected in our state school budget as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. Each year we.
I
Each
know there's
year.
a bit of a delay sometimes. We can
Mhm.
count it one way or the other, I believe, something
Yes,
like that.
The
And
extended
so-
ADMW.
So I know that we've done that in the past. That gives it a little bit of more breathing room sometimes, but
Yeah.
my understanding is it catches up with you eventually.
It does, because each year we are so declining. So next year, unfortunately, the higher of the two, which is the extended ADMW, is this year's.
Right.
Which is decreased by about 30. However, that is every district in our region is decreasing. I met with the business managers at the South Coast CSD on Friday. Show of hands was that every single district had a declining enrollment. And will continue to, unfortunately. On that positive note,
Sorry.
no, you're good. We did decrease 8 enrollment as of January 6th. So students had not come back to school yet, but as of January 6th, we were down 8. Somehow those all at the junior high. I don't know how that happens. That's never happened where the entire change has been at one school. There are fluctuations between Sunset and Madison and Millicoma and Eastside, but there were 8 enrollment decrease at the junior high. Floyd's probably not sad about having a little more space in his building, but I do wonder where those kids go. Justin and I met today, and we're hoping to get some information as to where those kids are going moving forward. We might be a month behind as we have to pull that data, but we're going to start getting some more information for you as to where those kids are. We're going to try and track with inter-district transfers a little closer, so we have a good idea their kids didn't get back if we don't anticipate getting them back. We did put in our estimate of membership and enrollment for next year for upcoming budget. We are expecting a decrease of about 32. So we are planning to continue to see decreases. 8 is not the worst we've seen all year, with the knowledge that February 1st, the first day of the second semester, we will see a decrease. Historically, we always see a decrease right at the beginning of the second semester. Anyone have any questions on enrollment?
Is that in high school students that February 1st you see the decrease, or is it across the board?
It's historically across the board, but it's most significantly seen in high school. But the high school stayed consistent between December and January, and that is great. That hadn't happened yet this year. Next is PERS rate. I heard you guys had questions as to the PERS rate.
We know they were released.
They were
released, so.
They were released at the November ALASBO meeting, which I was not at. It was, I think, November 11th. But I did get the information from our PERS rep. Our rates are increasing significantly to the tune of approximately 3.7% on average. The more significant increase is between officer rates. So they are, interesting. Huh? It's for tier 1, tier 2, we are currently at 20.81%, and it will be increasing to 24.68%. However, our officer rate right now is 17.97, and it's increasing to 21.5%. We have a really low percentage of tier 1, tier 2 employees, as I would imagine every school district does now, because it's based on a 2003 hire date. we have 19% roughly of tier 1, tier 2 employees, 81% of OPSERV. So we are going to see a significant increase in our first cost next year. Just based on December payroll calculation alone, we're looking at about, if everything stays the same for next year, so just the PERS rate increase would be $72,000 a month for almost 855,000 annually next year of an increase just based on current salary. So as we are going into negotiations with 2 unions, any increase in salaries will also be a significant increase in PERS costs. As a district, part of our agreements is that we pick up the 6% PERS pickup for our employees. We pay that plus the PERS rate based on the tier that they're in. So on average, it's about right now 24 to 28% per employee that we're paying. It will go up closer to 29% per employee of their annual salary plus any other wages they've received. So it is significant. It's a significant budget constraint, a huge concern. As we get closer to budget and we get a March estimate, we might have an idea of how much the state school fund is increasing to hopefully offset some of that. As a district, however, we do have a PERS bond that is expiring June 30, 2026, which I am hoping will offset some of this cost increase in the future. We currently pay for that based on everyone's allocations. This year it's 1.5 million. It will not continue to offset the expenses that we will be seeing. As salary costs just continue to compound, so will this PERS rate.
I was curious too, because I knew our side agreement, because I think I ask every year. Because I've never heard these, what are these side agreements? I know some districts where they have these expiring, they're actually, because those side agreements actually help keep costs down. Are we gonna be in a similar situation? Because many districts have very significant rate increases because not only is the PERS increase, but their side agreements also are expiring. And so those things that were saving them some costs now are being rolled up into the regular costs. Will that be our situation?
That is our situation.
situation.
And that is why we have such a significant cost increase. In the past, we've had on average a 1% increase. So it's increasing almost 4 times what we're used to annually. Side accounts are expiring this year. And that is, PERS is a full beast in and of itself. And I will sit through as many PERS workshops as I can, but it does at some point go way over my head. There are PERS people who can get in the weeds, and they do. The PERS bond that we have is tied to the side account, and with that expiring, our side account is also expiring, which decreased our costs. We are lucky, and that is only 3.7%. When I was at the OASBO meeting in July, I was hearing of districts that were increasing like 11%.
Yeah, there's some districts that are really gonna heal.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised. I was worried we were gonna be in one of these places that are 10% or higher.
So was I. Because I hadn't been here when the side accounts were arranged, and so just waiting for the impending doom of November's information was terrifying. 852,000 of an increase is great in terms of what I was anticipating, but it is a huge cost to the district that we're going to have to absorb.
Yeah.
Which is why my hesitation to do all of my transfers in the middle of the year, because we might need some additional general fund dollars to keep up. Not tapping into our ending fund balance. Does anyone have any questions on PERS? Yes, but yeah, most basic questions. Otherwise, I'd be happy to talk to a PERS person and see if they could answer some of the more complex.
It just surprised me because the OSERP was supposed to help save the system by decreasing the benefits, extending the amount of employee time that's necessary to get the benefits. And the fact that our increase is so significant in that group seems counter to what the whole purpose of that next year was, but
I agree.
it is counter. Yeah.
And as an OPSERT member, not good news for us. Not one of the options tier 1 or tier 2.
Well. You get the same benefit.
Yeah.
You're good.
Maybe. Any other,
And they're good benefits.
Yes,
My
they are.
parents get.
any other very basic first questions I can try and help with?
Not a question, just more of a comment, just back to when Marina was talking about the capital projects fund. I think something that we'll have to consider within the conversation of the district office move. That's really coming from a place of expanding programs for kids, right? It's coming from two places. It's an inconvenience for adults, which is fine. We should inconvenience ourselves. But it's coming from a position, it's honestly coming from a competitive position. We've talked about this in leadership a lot. Education is becoming more a la carte, right? And parents want programs and they want choices. And so for us to expand Little Pirates, to expand destinations, our hybrid program, maybe a tag enrichment program at the district office, we need to be competitive and relevant. Because families that are going to move to Coos Bay, if this port project happens, there's a lot of energy and optimism around it. They're not going to be legacy families. So what I mean by legacy families is Coos Bay North Bend has a lot of families. Kids go to those schools because that's where their parents and their grandparents and their siblings went to school, right? They played for the Pirates, they played for the Bulldogs. They can talk about their grandfather. That dynamic will change over time. And when people move into our community, these communities, they're going to pick the district based on programs and what kids are graduating, who has CT, who has AP, who all the stuff. And I'm rooting for North Bend. I mean, obviously there's a healthy civil war rivalry there, but there are community, there are neighbors. I want them to do well, but I also want us to be in a position that when a bunch of people who aren't from this community show up, they pick the district based on results and programs. And so for us, there's a footprint there and we can start to expand, but parents want choices and they want a la carte choices. So we need to think long and hard about how we're going to do that.
The other thing is, as you're talking about declining enrollment and how we're budgeting for declining enrollment and everything, a project like the port or a project like the 400 units that they're talking about building, they're talking about building them in 40 to 50 houses a year. Well, 40 to 50 houses, if each house had 2 kids, I mean, all of a sudden you have 100. In 1 year, you have 100 kids back in your school district. There's a problem again. So we need to think about that in advance as we look at expanding population here in the region. Okay, any other questions? Nope. Okay, moving right along. We are up to facilities committee.
Yes, so I'll do a little touch up. They've kind of hit on a couple of my notes, so if it's a repeat, I'm sorry. And if I notice it ahead of time, I'll just stop short of it. So at our last facilities committee meeting, a man named Steve from the Community Coalition of Empire presented their ideas on doing a cost analysis for their idea of relocating our bus barn and maintenance. And so I was kind of getting information in from them, see what's going on. And then they're wanting to present possibly in March to the board.
Wait, the Empire Coalition wants us to relocate our bus barn?
Yeah, so in their idea, it's a housing environment. And so they would like it to be housing. And so they have an idea and a plan.
It doesn't require us to put money up. It's a
proposal. So
a proposal. They're looking at grants and all sorts of things. So, and the city's involved in it. Nicole Rutherford was at the facilities meeting. So
they said they'll be ready like around March and then talk about that. And then our flagpole up at Marshfield wasn't doing good. So we have a new flagpole and we have a new scoreboard for the softball team and a new scoreboard for the baseball team. It's a lot heavier and bigger and more high tech than what we've had, so it could potentially be in March. But, and it's like a big but, if they waited 3 more months-ish, it would save the athletic department like $20,000.
So we'll be saving it, waiting 3 months.
So so the athletic department has their budget. And if they're kind of wanting to save it for another project, we're gonna kind of put it in their hand, I think.
I'll chime in.
Yeah.
There was a donation of approximately $100,000 that, Greg Mulkey determined he wanted to use for scoreboards. There is money for installation, including the increased costs. So if they so chose, I know that one of their current, I believe it's the baseball, I think that's what Casey said. The baseball is currently not working, and so we will either need to put money into getting it to work for baseball season or install that one and then maybe install the softball one at a later date to save some money. I don't know what he decided, but that was last week, I think.
Yeah.
But there is money in a special reserve fund.
Yeah, because they want to save 20,000, use it somewhere else or just get it done, so. And then, let's see here, we've been painting hallway stuff, bathrooms, and you can see this room in here getting done. The softball batting cage, it's over by the ESD, has turf laid in it now. And it's all brand new, so it's really nice looking stuff. And then Marina already covered this one more, as like Sen said, also be kind of a high priority topic, something to focus on during budgeting committee, because they have a lot of roofing issues going on. Here. And I was gonna highlight too, Archery's been here down at Blossom. Their program's expanded and grown, and so they've been in the cafeteria setting up. That's what you guys got to see. I got to come witness it. It looked real safe and good, and I was impressed.
Yeah.
I didn't do it, but I watched it.
Wait, what was
They
it?
kept it safe.
Archery.
Archery. Yeah. Yeah, they did an awesome job. And then that kind of brought in some ideas with the culinary arts. We'd like to see it expand, but Marshall's pretty limited on the type of power and the way the school kind of laid out. And we've kind of been hitting around, getting feelers for here at Blossom. Because they could have their own cafeteria, design it for them. It'd be like their home where they could host parties and events, and it'd be like their bubble of getting stuff done. And so that's something that would save the district money, because if we had to upgrade more at Marshfield, it'd be cheaper to do it down here. And now
So that's-
Marino's all like stressing out right now. We're just talking about. So,
Don't make eye contact with me.
Idea.
Yeah, just an idea. No, it'd save the school district money anyways. And so I look forward to presenting our next school board meeting, and our next facilities committee meeting will be at Millicoma School, right?
The tours that will come,
Yeah.
right? So-
Yeah, we do a school, then we do it in the school, so.
That one's on the 10th, right? And then Kevin, I had a question for you.
Yes.
So the scoreboard for the boys team, baseball team is broken. And then the girls team is not broken. And so,
Well, I don't know the details on that. I know that the scoreboards are bigger, and so they said you can't just hook it up, everything's gonna blow over. It's gotta have a whole new framing, new system, everything.
do the girls have a scoreboard?
I don't know.
So, because so were you saying that the scoreboard was ordered for the girls, but because the boys is broken, we're gonna do the boys first?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay,
No, they're both here,
okay,
but contracting and rates said that if we do it in the summer, that it'd save us
for
20,000
both of them.
for both. And if we just did it in March, it would be more expensive.
So according to Casey, the athletics director, because I said the same thing, let's wait, he said, softball is no problem to wait. Their scoreboard works. Baseball does not have a functioning scoreboard, so if we were to wait, we would need to troubleshoot that.
Okay.
So my understanding is
So they-
softball has one and it's fine, but rather than put money into a broken one at
Just put the new
baseball,
one up.
right, since it's just sitting in a.
And we couldn't just stand there and go,
You can.
2 to 5. Scores 2 to 5.
That's how they do it at the younger grade.
That's right. That's right.
I will let Casey know that's your suggestion.
Okay. Does anybody have any more facilities questions? Okay, moving right along to policy. I think I've lost my, yes, policy.
All right. Well, first and foremost, does anyone have any prospective policies that they would like the committee to review? Okay. Then we'll move on to our first policy, which is GCBDA/GDBDA, family and medical leave. I think that one's pretty standard boilerplate from OSBA. We didn't have any language choice options. And that's a highly recommended policy. And then we will be deleting the former AR for GCBDA/GDBDA. There will be, I believe there's a new one that we will review at our next policy committee meeting and put on the docket for adoption after that. And then on to that's it, wrong policy. The next one is GCBDD/GDBDD, sick time. There was, and again, I'm sure you remember at this point, but if it's highlighted in red, like red actual highlight over all the words, that means that's something that either isn't meant to be in the final policy that OSBA just gave us that's informational, or something that the board, if it's in brackets, then the board elected to remove. And then yellow is something that the board elected to keep that was optional. Let's see. Next one is paid family and medical leave insurance, GCBDF. On page 74. And then few changes, but there is no optional language in this one. This was all OSBA prompted. The next one we have is GDCA, admission of resident students. There was some optional language on page 79. As we normally do, if there's a may based on district criteria or a may option that gives the district some flexibility, those will and will not terms are so definitive in every situation is different. So we always try to get the may if we can. So that was an option that we chose. The next one, JHCD, is a new policy. This one was formerly on, no, I don't think it was on a board agenda. It went through policy committee a couple of times because we had some notes from the nursing staff that we needed to add in. One of the things, I actually think it's on the next one. Let's see. Yeah, it's on the AR. One of the things they noted is that school nurse actually has it doesn't just mean a nurse at a school. There's a certification associated with that our district nurses do not have. So having to say school nurse in the policy was inaccurate. They are district nurses who work at a school, which was news to me. But that's why we have them review those things. So those were changes that we made based on their recommendation. We also added unexpired as the criteria for accepting medication for students. It seems self-explanatory, but they informed us that more often than not, it happens more than you would think that people bring in expired medication. And so we wanted to make sure that was clear in policy.
Is that done with any conversation with the nurse? I mean, I can see some situations why people would bring in expired medication if they can't afford to buy new medication. And I mean, just because it says it's expired doesn't mean it's expired.
I believe, and I'm hesitant to speak
Yeah.
for the nurse, but my recollection is that in those situations, they will give the medication back to the parent and say, if you'd like to administer this, you can
come and
do
do
what
that.
you want to do in your home, but at school, we have to have unexpired medication
Okay.
due to our policies.
We talked about that in policy committee. That came up. Yeah, it was one of our concerns too.
Yeah,
But that, we talked just what David said and it clarified.
I would assume a nurse that says expired would have to go with that.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
Just the liability of.
Yeah.
And there are few, but there are a few medications that actually can have negative effects once they are expired.
Yes.
Most of them just lose their effectiveness, but there are some. And rather than knowing which those are, they're not pharmacists.
Yeah.
And so to get around that, they'll just say, if it's expired, we're not taking it.
That makes sense.
We will be deleting the old JHCD/JHCDA and its associated AR because those two policies we just went through replaced those. And they were changes significant enough that it was worth deleting the former policy and adopting the new policy rather than trying to track changes onto it. I believe that's the last one I have for you. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Keeping these pages in order. Okay, we are on to public input. We do have some people signed up. Just want to go through, including some people online.
I wrote the online one on here,
Okay,
and then
perfect.
there was one in person as well,
Okay.
and then the three on the agenda.
Okay. Our policy with regard to public input, speakers may offer objective criticism of school operations and programs, but the board will not hear personal complaints concerning school personnel, nor against any person connected with the school system. The time limit is 3 minutes. I will direct the speaker and anyone else who wants to speak to the appropriate means for board consideration and disposition of legitimate complaints involving individuals. And that's board policy BDDH. So that being said, the first person I have on our agenda is Kelsey DeWater. Is Kelsey here or online? No? Okay. Gregory Oleksak. I don't want to mispronounce anyone's name. Gregory Oleksak. Nope. Danny Stoddard.
I'm surprised she's not here.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not here too. Yep. Who is?
You just get feedback.
Oh, I'm
feedback. We'll get feedback. Ella, they wrote.
Okay, then we have online Perry Holman.
I'm not online.
Oh, sorry. Alicia Rose must be on.
And Perry, would you like me to announce when you have 30 seconds left?
Go ahead. It should be okay, but go ahead.
Okay.
I just like to speak about the flag. slowly we've been going downhill with respecting the country and, the basic fundamentals of what the country is. Pledges can help with that problem, can help introduce more conversations about it. Because it doesn't matter if we all disagree on the direction of the country at any time. Its potential is always there to be a great country and perfect no matter what we think. Granted, we won't disagree. And getting away from the flag burnings and the disrespect that there is, needs to start happening. And it would be great to start seeing the pledge being said every day. And also the school board property, it would be great for more maintenance to be done on those. The homeless that are dumping human waste that I've seen into the creeks, like back here, it's getting to be overwhelming. The criminals take advantage that nobody keeps an eye on good properties. I mean, they're all over. And I've personally seen them at Fred Meyer stealing stuff, and they hightail it up and run onto the property because nobody's up there and nobody keeps an eye on it. And that goes for behind Walmart, that goes everywhere, all your guys' properties. It'd be nice to start getting more people to keep an eye on what's going on up there.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you. That is something I guess we need to look at. Okay. Alia Rose? Is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
No.
You're muted. You're muted.
Can you unmute her?
No, I can't. We can't hear you. You need to hit your little
I
microphone.
think she is now.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, it's pronounced Ilea. It rhymes with idea.
Okay.
And I don't have a comment, I have a question. So I'd like, perhaps someone can answer this. I'm curious as to why the flags at all the schools are still at full staff. Why they're not at half staff. That's all.
As of today, you mean?
Well,
Because they went back to full staff and the funeral was over.
It doesn't matter. The president and the governor both decreed that it would be a 30-day flags would be at half mast. This has not been 30 days.
Thank you. We'll make sure that that gets noted. I'm having so much.
She probably has two things on.
I do.
So that was it for the people who had signed up. Does anyone else want to address the body?
Crystal, how you feeling?
Yeah, I might as well. Everybody looks like me too, right?
Well, she represents the community in a lot of ways.
Well, I guess, I mean, it's usually.
Can you identify yourself?
Yeah, my name is Crystal Hopper Myers. I'm here on behalf to help represent our Oregon South Coast Patriot Guard Riders and AMVETS, Bay Area Post 10. My husband, Jeff, is here with me today, and we stay active in helping support our local veterans, military families, and first responder families in this area and our community. I did not intend to speak today, but I feel that it is a responsibility for me to do so. I'm just physically drained. So I'm gonna try to put it together. When I was made aware, I wasn't even aware that we didn't do the pledge in school. It's just one of those things that I don't know, I was just shocked that we didn't do the Pledge of Allegiance. I know that we do it, but I guess it's been brought up now to do away with it. I don't know all of the,
Well, before you go on,
Right.
let's clarify this.
Okay.
The district does do the flag salute. All the schools do the flag salute. The majority of the schools do the flag salute every day.
okay,
The one or two that don't do a weekly acknowledgement.
okay,
But there is a flag salute in the schools.
okay. So I was made aware recently that there were talks of not doing it in the schools. Or moving it to where we wouldn't be doing it on I just personally feel like we should be doing it every single day. Because we have many, veterans, we have over 7,000 veterans in Coos County. We have many who have served the country to make sure that we are able to be here. And if we're not doing it every day, I would like to see it every day. Like I said, I don't know all of the details of it, but what I was made aware of recently was that there might have been people that either in this room or involved with decision making of not in favor of having the Pledge of Allegiance. Maybe that was their feeling, or trying to make it more difficult to have this happen on a daily basis, which I feel that it should be done daily. Just like starting this meeting, we did this. So I just want to say thank you for starting this meeting, doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm proud of this community, this board. All of you give so much to this by serving as a volunteer. And my son is in the school, and I'm just grateful for it. Just had a great representation of the speaking debate team out of this area in Portland. They did very well. We're very proud. When it comes to the Pledge of Allegiance, like I said, it's a very sensitive subject. And when I'm made aware of things that, or people that don't feel that it should be done, I just kind of shook my head like, what? So please just take that into consideration if moving forward from this day that anybody considers taking it out of our regular clothing in school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service and as well.
I noticed that Chris Castleman has raised a hand. Mr. Castleman? Did you want to speak? No?
Do you have to call on that one, David, from that setting or no?
No, his microphone's off. He shouldn't, but it maybe with an inverted hand raise.
His microphone is on, apparently.
Yeah, oh, sorry, that's what.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Mr. Castleman, if you're speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Wow. Sorry about that. Yeah, I would like to give public comment if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll try. Okay. My name is Chris Castleman. I live just outside Coos Bay, but within. I just wanted to reiterate Mr. Holman's comments and the lady who just spoke that, you know, there's an importance to saying the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. I did it while growing up, and I think we should honor our country and honor the flag that our veterans fought for. It's an important thing to do. So it would be nice if you guys could change the policy to encourage it to be done every morning. I don't know if you have to mandate it, but it should be encouraged. The second thing that Mr. Holman talked about is the homeless encampments on school board property. I have toured them. They're disgusting. They're elaborate. And there are criminals that live back there. I've been back there with the police, and as they identify people, they have active warrants. They found sex offenders living back there in the woods, and it would be a service to this community to have that cleaned up. I'd be willing to help in any fashion that you guys could utilize me, and others would as well. We need, back behind the building that you're at right now at Blossom Gulch, as well as some other school board properties, they really need to be cleaned up and maintained. So if we can do that, that would be great. And thank you guys for allowing me to speak. And thank you, Kevin, for board member Kevin, for bringing this to everyone's attention. And I appreciate your service, sir.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Councilman. Okay, did anyone else want to make any comments? Okay. Next on our agenda, action items to consider, our budget calendar. Is that going to be you?
It's me, but it's the exact same calendar as last year, just the dates are adjusted for the days of the week they fall on this year. We will do 2 budget meetings in May, the second one if necessary. It'll be, I think it's the second and third Wednesday. And then we will do the budget hearing at the June board meeting. So everything for the budget will be done and submitted by June 9th. Yeah.
And we need a motion on this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve our 2025 budget calendar.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
There any objections? Hearing none, we adopt the budget calendar by acclamation. Okay. This is policy INDB, flag displays and salutes, was brought up at last month's meeting. Did you want to address it again, Kevin?
Yeah, so like what Crystal was saying and the rest, I thought everyone was doing it daily. And so when I reached out, I'm on the policy committee, when I reached out, I thought it was, we're gonna match policy with common practice, what's going on. Cause it sounds like everyone's doing it. Maybe there's a couple schools that, I mean, I'm sure they would be encouraged to do it if it said obviously daily. And so I figured we'd update it. I thought this was gonna be the easiest policy, like out of all the policies you deal with, really, to be honest. But the change would be from at least once each week to daily. And like what you're saying, you could say encourage daily, and then on the 4th paragraph or the 5th paragraph, there's the opt-out type language to it. None of the other language changed. The second to the last page in the packet.
So we had a number of members up here saying that we were trying to get rid of the Pledge of Allegiance. Or they were under the impression that we were not going to do the Pledge of Allegiance anymore in schools. What was that? Do you have any ideas?
I feel pretty close to, from our last meeting, that was a good representation of how the community would feel.
Really, that us as a board
Well, not as a board,
are
but that
getting
was,
rid
that
of the
was,
Pledge of Allegiance in schools altogether.
well, I don't know till today.
It's what state legislator that we have
Yeah.
to, we have to offer the opportunity weekly, I believe it's
Maybe I
what we,
misunderstood our last board meeting, but I did not know that was on the table whatsoever.
that wasn't.
I thought we were just going, we have a maintained policy, we have a policy that states at least once weekly, and this is correct me if I'm wrong, this is the district policy, not a school policy. So we're talking about our preschool promise as well. So 3-year-olds would have to do it every single day. And I'm not saying that they don't, maybe they do.
Well, and you don't have to, it's just given
No.
opportunity.
Somebody would have to lead it, right? Because they're 3
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah. But we leave them on how to read and how to write, how to eat and how to go to the bathroom.
We talk about, age appropriate.
Yeah.
And it would be like small segments. It wouldn't be
And we did it as kids.
at 3 years old in your preschool.
We had to, I mean, I remember doing it all through grade school,
I just want to know why the public is thinking our board is getting rid of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, that is concerning.
That is very concerning to me. That's
Because that was never part of the conversation.
never.
I mean, we have an existing policy that's been in place, looked like, starting in 1999, that's been, and maybe readapted in 2021, right? So this policy would continue to stand and does continue to stand.
It
And
would.
this does say that students will receive instruction in respect to the flag, at least once a week, right? And we heard last week that many of the schools do it daily. I think there
with the
were,
morning announcement.
yeah, there were a couple of schools that maybe choose to do it on a weekly basis, and those were the younger schools, right?
Yeah, or like during PE time.
The younger kids. So if nothing else, we have an existing policy that's in place, right? So the only change, Kevin, seems to me is you have made a recommendation to do something different, right?
Yeah, bring it back to how, when I went to school, it was just daily.
Which was might have been before 1999 or whenever this changed. I mean, this policy probably was in place when you were in school.
Yeah, but the teachers probably just did it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
And,
is
and they can
allowed.
do it as many times as they want,
Yeah.
but they can't do it less than once a week, right? And the schools are doing it every day. Maybe not the preschool promise, but it sounds like they're doing it once a week. But you want it in the, like, part of their class, when they're in class for, 2.5, 3 hours, that's gonna be every day. To have instruction on it.
Well, that's not actually what he said. Kevin said that he would like it to have the opportunity to present the opportunity for a child to say the pledge every day, should they want to.
Right, but it wouldn't, go ahead.
Oh, and that's what our policy says, is we give that opportunity currently once per week. And that's because we cannot require people to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, we have exchange students who aren't US citizens. There's all sorts of stuff that goes on in our schools, but.
Yeah, different faith groups, not all faith groups.
Yeah, so they are given the opportunity at least once a week. And I know, Kevin, you brought this up in policy committee meetings and you were interested in changing this. I think you brought it up at our last board meeting. Outside of those meetings, I have not heard any grumblings, mumblings from any other board members saying that, they were interested in making that less than once a week or eliminating the Pledge of Allegiance in our schools. I did see some rumblings to that effect on social media. Some of those were connected to, I think, one of your pages where the comments were, why are the schools wanting to get rid of this? Et cetera, et cetera. And there were no further updates to correct that presumed misinformation. I'm sorry that wasn't the case. Obviously, I don't like people coming to the meeting and say, hey, I've heard that you guys want to do this. You're thinking about doing this when that hasn't been the case. I mean, the only thing that's been the case so far is you looked at this policy and you said, hey, I think this should be changed so that we do this more frequently. Full stop. So I think that's where we are right now.
I think, when I talked a little bit at that last board meeting, this exactly what's kind of happening and what's happening with the assumptions in the community was exactly my concern, is then now we're shifting the focus away from education and we're starting to focus on some other things, regardless of opinions of how often. We have a policy in place that's working just fine. It's not broken. And then when we hear things like that, it puts us in a position almost to have to defend that, no, that's not what's happening. And those things weren't said. And then unfortunately, it can paint us in a light of something that wasn't actually happening or said or intended. And it's for me, having policies like this come up on the agenda, it's just a little bit worrisome because it's this one now and then what's next and then what's next. And then pretty soon we're not talking about education anymore. We're not talking about budgets and enrollments and capital funds where we have a whole agenda full of things that the community can just disagree about. And I think all of us on the board have the same goal is, and we all believe in the school district and we want to move our kids in the right direction. And we want to really put movement behind our mission and our goals. And I don't want to be distracted.
I'm glad you brought up our mission because one of them is enlisted, enlisted.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
you know-
Absolutely. I think the miscommunication is the biggest thing for me. I don't want to have to defend my, how much I love my country or that, I grew up in Texas. We said the Pledge of Allegiance like 6 times a day and it ended with amen every time. And so, I love the Pledge of Allegiance. I think it's very appropriate and most of our schools do it every single day. But we're talking about policy and there's a difference between saying, you're going to do it every day. If it's in the policy, no matter what, you're going to do that and you're going to provide that opportunity every single day. Somebody's going to do it every single day and saying, you know what, if you want to do it every single day, that's great, but you're not going to do it less than once a week. And even some of your folks commented that oh gosh, we used to do it at least once a week. There was no clarification on that. Let's not mislead the public that we, are anti-American or that we don't love our veterans or our flag or the Pledge of Allegiance, because we do. Okay, I shouldn't say that for everybody, but as a board, we're representing our community and we're not saying to take it out. I don't want to stop our Pledge of Allegiance. If the schools are doing it every day, they can do it every day. If classrooms want to do it a couple times a day, I don't care. I think it's just a difference between,
Well, what's it hurt by doing it every day? I mean, the people that want to do it, if you say, hey, morning announcements, do the Pledge of Allegiance, and do the Pledge of Allegiance, maybe we'll get better test scores, maybe the grading will go up. The part that's probably not part of too much statistics and too much depth, I've noticed the schools that do it every day have better grades and better attendance. And if it's correlated, does that make that principal or that person that type of leader? And it's not just the flag, it's just how they operate, possibly. But there's all kinds of angles to it that I think are helpful. And all of you guys grew up doing it. Do you feel brainwashed or bad? No.
Nobody's saying that.
Yeah, nobody's saying that. And I think it's very like, and I'm not, just going back to a couple things that you say, I think you said I think in there, and that's good because saying that schools that do the Pledge of Allegiance and do these things have better grades, there's so many factors that go into that type of data. Like it would probably be difficult to single that out because there's so many there's so many variables. So I think being very
I just
careful
don't see it hurting anything. And stuff is broken and stuff is not, there's stuff that's not working.
But this is hurting already, Kevin, because now there's already a perception
that the board is trying
to, and that's
hurting
about talking about a policy that we didn't need to talk about because it's already working in our schools. So it is hurting. It is hurting. I care about this school district and I care about these kids and every single one of them walks through the door regardless of how they feel one way or another. These are all nonpartisan positions. And so it does hurt when you see people saying things that weren't true and didn't brought up. And my whole thing was that was my fear when we start talking about this stuff, because it it just goes downhill quickly. But I do want to say this, Kevin, I do appreciate, I think everybody should have an opportunity to talk about things that they want to bring up, or if a policy doesn't drive right or something, I think that's fair. Like, I think you should be able to talk about those things and bring those up. If I wouldn't hesitate if there was something I wanted to talk about on here. So I think a lot of good has come from this because there's a lot of conversation and a lot of debate. But for me personally, I want to stick to policies that are going to really launch us forward and support our students and focus on safety, health, and well-being in the education of our kids. So I don't really have anything to
I was gonna say, as a board, we have a formal process for taking action. And I mean, I just would suggest that, we do things in a way to take action, and we do seconds to take action. And so, I mean, generally that's what we do as a board. So we can have debate, but normally the debate happens after we agree to consider something. And I don't believe we really actually considered. I actually have not heard of an action to request anything at this point. So I don't really hear on the table anything for us to talk about.
Yeah, it was just brought up as a discussion point in our last meeting, which I was confused about.
I understand there was stuff that happened at a policy committee, a discussion. This is not policy committee, this is the board.
Exactly, that's what I said.
So unless I hear something to take action on, I don't hear anything on the.
I can make a motion to change the wording to daily.
That's what would start something.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion to change the wording from at least once each week to daily.
In policy number, read the policy.
Yeah, in policy INDB, Coos Bay School District, flags and displays and so.
Okay, is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion fails.
I would potentially make a motion as well, that we reaffirm policy INDB and encourage our community to look at their schools and look at the youth needs and to value our nation and the people that served it, knowing that this only creates a minimum standard, but it's not certainly to give people a maximum. So I think that, to me, that would be a motion that would be respectful. It's in spirit, which we aligned. And so that would be my motion, is that we reaffirm this with that verbal statement that this is really supposed to give schools a chance to look at themselves, look at their students, the parents, grandparents, those that serve, and make a good decision for their smaller community. So that would be my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
That motion's been seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Just one last thing that I'd like to say, I understand that these types of issues do have that tendency to become political and divisive, and it's Board Appreciation Month, right? Thank you all for being level-headed about this. We can have our disagreements. And I hope that in the future, even when we disagree, we keep our focus on what we can do best for our students and not things that are going to distract us from that mission. And that's all. So, thank you.
I'd like to say that I have no problem with saying the Black Flag salute every day, giving the kids the opportunity to say it every day. I grew up with saying it every day, and like you said, I'm not a bad person, didn't come out with any scars. But the policy is working at this point, and I think with the proviso that we ask the schools to make sure that they are paying attention to the spirit of the pledge, as well as just having kids learn the rote memorization of the pledge, that we're doing a benefit to them.
I didn't have a qualm with this policy. My own thing was miscommunication to our public and making sure that, we're being represented with, with what's actually happening. And, just saying this over again with the, reaffirming, there's a whole policy on flag displays and salutes. I encourage folks to look it up, and students shall receive instruction in respect for the national flag and be provided an opportunity to salute the U.S. flag. And we have it in there at least once each week during the school year by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. And like we said, most schools are doing it every day. I don't know about the 3 and 4 year olds, but
yeah. But I will say that the kindergartners learned it by sign language, so. Okay, is there any further discussion? Kim? Vote.
yay.
Adrian?
Aye.
Diane?
Aye.
Kevin?
I go for the every day or no way.
So you're no.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion passes. Okay. Next on our agenda, board items, consider adjustment to negotiation committees. This came up because, the composition of the negotiating committees was, added to address the fact that several of our current members' terms are set to conclude soon. And there's a possibility they may choose not to run for re-election. To ensure continuity in the negotiation process, I propose that we proactively identify other board members to transition into this role if necessary, into the negotiation roles if necessary, because this will help us maintain stability and stuff as we go forward. So we should discuss, David gave us all a copy of our committee and board representative appointments.
That at the back of the packet.
Pardon me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, let's see, on compensation committees. Diane, you're up for election this year. And I'm the backup, so I will stay the backup on that one. How about the negotiating? David, you're on the license negotiating. Arnie is on license negotiating. Arnie's on classified negotiating, and all those positions are going to be up this year. So we just want to identify a backup person who can then move into that role should they need to do that.
Arnie's up this year too?
Arnie's up this year too.
Oh, for.
Adrian, Arnie, Diane, and David are all on for election. And, Chair Hutchinson, if I could add in.
Yeah, please.
Part of this was the understanding that negotiations hopefully do not go past June 30th, but they did last time and they may again. And so the concern was starting with the negotiations team, doing the bulk of the negotiations and then switching crews at the final hour. So we wanted to, in advance of elections, make sure if someone's intending to run, then we will hitch our wagon to their buggy and hope that they get reelected. But if someone is
already knows they're not running
to run again, knowing that, we would like to make moves proactively rather than wait until the final moment and then have to switch the lineup.
So we don't need to do this tonight, but it is something we should be considering. So as we approach the elections and signing up for elections, just keep that in mind. And the second thing is an election reminder. Upcoming county elections are scheduled for May 20th, 2025. 4 seats on the Coos Bay School District Board of Directors, positions Positions 1, 2, 5, and 6 are up for election. These positions play a crucial role in shaping the educational landscape of our community. If you'd like more information, members of the public, on the election process and how to participate, please go to the Coos County Elections Office website and they'll give you all the information with timelines and everything. Okay, I think we are up to board member highlights.
I was able to attend the winter celebration at Eastside School. And that was a lot of fun. They had crafts and they painted rocks and had a snow machine out there. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And they had a winter wonderland pictures. So that was a lot of fun. Went to their staff meeting and site council meeting in December. And there was a lot of celebrations. And yeah, they need more time. Everybody needs more time.
Everyone needs more time. Adrian?
Oh goodness, I've been focused mostly on robotics over the last month. Happy to announce that the junior high robotics team does have an official coach who is not me. I am still there every practice, helping with all the technical stuff. And I'm available to any of our robotics coaches, elementary and high school as well. So after our last meet, we were 10th out of 19 teams in the Southern Oregon area robotics league.
Pretty good. It's relatively new, isn't it?
They're a rookie team this year.
Yeah.
Only kiddos.
Diane?
I didn't do anything officially, but I happened to be at the district office in Destinations, and while I was waiting, I got to peek at the preschool classrooms. I had never been there. The kiddos were already out of school, but I got to talk to a few of the preschool teachers, and they were just really happy to be there. It was nice to just chat, see the little classrooms and the little tiny chairs and tables. But it was so neat, and it's like they have just their own section of the building. They're in their world over there. It's really, really, really cool. So that was really neat to see because I had never been into those classrooms before, and I wasn't intentionally quietly just popping it in. It just organically happened. So it just organically happened there. So and then I went to an athletic signing. I got invited just to come, and I just sat in the back row and watched somebody sign to go to Western for volleyball, which was really cool. I thought the neat part about it too is a really crowded room, and it was just a lot of people there to support this young lady in her next adventure. So that was fun because I had never been to something quite like that before. So that was really fun. And then I'm just popping around to different events and athletics and yeah, so.
It was at D1 signing?
No, it was Western, which I'm not sure what Western is, but it was a great event. Yeah. There was a lot of people there, and it was just really fun, and it was just nice to see the community turn out for that young lady who had worked really hard. So
Did you get a little redhead in preschool promise? It's got red hair, curly.
most of the kids were already gone. But other than that, yeah.
Kevin?
I think it was written.
Oh, I don't think this is gonna help school grades, so I'm not gonna participate.
David?
All right. I've been going to some of the events over at Sunset for the site council, which has been helpful. This is my second round through as a sign. So I actually feel like I better understand the school a little bit. So that's been enjoyable. It was really just interesting just watching them have discussions around school attendance in particular, and also the amount of tardies apparently also is quite significant. And just how, as a school, how to try to figure out how to approach that community in a way that's going to be helpful. And just the idea that maybe each school is gonna have to come up with a little bit different strategy, based on that. And I think Sunset is one traditionally, that circles a little bit more around attendance. I think that, Madison and Sunset are, the struggles for those communities are a little bit different sometimes. So it's watching schools trying to figure that out. It's fun. It's exciting to watch them trying to parse that out. And I appreciate some of the tasks they did get because it's really focusing in that area. So, yeah. I think that's all I got.
I went over to Madison sort of undercover and just walked in and wandered the school, looking into classrooms and everything, watching kids. It was so much fun when kids don't know that they're being watched. So that was fun. And then a bunch of us also represented the district at the Shore Acres Lights in December.
Very cool.
That's very fun if anyone wants to do it.
It is fun. Did you learn how to make a lot of punch? Did you learn the secret formula of punch?
No, my husband,
Oh.
he's the punch maker. We've done this now every year with one organization or not.
I always like that. There's a lot of punch to make in one evening.
Well, and I mean, it's a formula. You follow that formula, so. And people come saying, I love their cider. Okay, that is our agenda for tonight. Do I have a motion to? We don't need a motion to adjourn? We are adjourned.
Thank you. These are awesome.
Thank you.